Hello, this is my August reading wrap up. I have right here my list of books that I've read. One of them I haven't finished yet, two of them I haven't finished yet. It is August 30th as I film this. I am home by myself tonight. Tomorrow on Saturday, the 31st, I have a shitload of homework that I need to work on, but I'm planning on finishing both books that I haven't finished yet. So look out for the reviews for at least one of those, because one of them's an ebook and I don't review ebooks, but the other one is a physical book. Okay, spiel over. This is my August wrap up. Like I said, I have a couple of audiobooks to discuss, I have a couple of ebooks to discuss, and I have a lot of physical books to talk about. Oh man, I put that book away right there. It's fine. The first book that I finished reading in August, I actually started in July. It took me a lot longer to get through this than I thought it was going to, because I didn't find it as interesting as the first book in the series, and that was King of Fools by Amanda Foody. Don't get me wrong here, I definitely enjoyed this book. I just think that it took a weird political turn from what I came to expect in Ace of Shades. Like, the magic wasn't as prevalent in this one than, like, as opposed to Ace of Shades. So this focused more on the politics in New Reynes as opposed to the magic system. So it's fine. Like, I always struggle with second books in a series. I still loved the writing in this. I thought it was great, but didn't quite live up to the hype that I had placed around it. Oh, by the way, all of the reviews for physical books are on my blog, which is linked below. So that's King of Fools. Then I read an ebook that I borrowed from my library. It was Rain and Delilah's Midnight Matinee, which is about two girls who host a midnight matinee on their local, like, public access television. One of the girls, Delia, she's hoping that she can reach out through to her father through this show because he left when she was younger. And then Josie is hoping to get into television when she finishes college. So it's all about their adventures down to Orlando from their, like, bitty bumpkin town in Tennessee. It was really cute. I enjoyed it. I read it faster than I thought I was going to, but it was cute. I loved it. These are three books that I read simultaneously. So as I was reading King of Fools at home, I was reading Rain and Delilah's Midnight Matinee while I was signing stuff at work. And then if I wasn't signing stuff at work, I was listening to The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater, which I, of course, loved. I really think that Will Patton as the narrator did that series so much justice. He was so great. I liked how he would put different spins on the different voices of the characters. It really helped keep me engaged in the story. It was a great conclusion to the Raven cycle, and now I can't wait until I can read Call Down the Hawk. It focuses on Ronan, and I really grew to love him by the time I reached The Raven King. When I finished The Raven King, I wanted to listen to something that was kind of different. I was going to listen to The Hate U Give, but then I was like, I think that would be better if I actually read it so that I can review it. That's what I want. So what I did instead was read a book that's been on my TBR for quite a while. I have the physical copy, so I'm gonna get it and show it to you. I wanted to read a book that was written by a comedian that didn't focus on, like, memoir sort of stuff. It didn't focus on, like, Bo Burnham's poetry book. I didn't want to read anything like that. I wanted to read something like Aziz Ansari's Modern Romance. So this is basically like an ethnography is how I would describe it, because he, like, did a ton of research for this book with the help of, like, a couple of different people. And I have to say, I'm so glad that I listened to it. Like, I understand that reading the book would, like, show these charts, but listening to Aziz read this book helped bring humor to something that you can actually learn from. So this was fun. I enjoyed it, but I didn't write a review for it because I listened to it on audio, and I'm happy that Aziz is the one who narrated it. And then I got into my randomly generated August TBR. Here we go. The first book that I ended up reading took me like only 2 days to read because I was really, really invested in the writing of this story. And that was 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. I felt a certain type of way going into this. I was worried that I wasn't going to enjoy it because there are so many mixed reviews. However, in my review, you will see that I had mixed feelings about this, but it's not about the writing, it's about the story. So like, I feel like there are things that the author could have done to make the story better, more suitable for a mental health book, but I'm not mad at this per se. My review will be linked down below so you can read all of my thoughts on this book. I read what I can only describe as a cringe-worthy ebook that I found for free on Amazon, and it was called The Practice Boyfriend. It's about this girl who's like Little Miss Perfect, and all she wants to do is have one wild night before she graduates from high school. She wants to basically have something to talk about in her valedictorian speech. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, sounds interesting, except for the love interest was incredibly flat. There were supposed to be two, but the one that I'm thinking about is the one who is her practice boyfriend. He is supposed to have killed his girlfriend in a drunk driving accident, and I just didn't feel like the author focused enough on that. So there's so much that she could have explored with that character arc that just went out the window. The character didn't feel realistic to me. And that's why I was like, the book was kind of just cringy, eye roll, not what I thought it was going to be. After I read The Practice Boyfriend, I jumped into Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. And I really, this book met my expectations. I expected it to be incredibly well written with a beautiful, beautiful, sad, tragic story, and it was. I just didn't quite understand the ending. One thing that I think that I failed to mention in my review is I liked that the author kind of made up books about the main character to put within the book. So you kind of get like the alleged background of Mary and learn more about the case for why she is in baby jail and in her group home. I just thought that it was so dark and really great. But when I finished this, because of the content in this, I wanted to move on to something lighthearted, which is why I started reading two books at the same time. Ended with Allegedly, which is the dark content, picked up Until Friday Night by Abby Glines, and also on my Kindle was reading Missing Presumed. I didn't finish Missing Presumed in enough time to keep it from my library because somebody was waiting for the ebook on hold. So I have this arc. I'm not sure if the author changed anything from the time the arc was published until the actual final product was published, so I don't know if the story ended differently than how the arc ended in the final product, but this and this at the same time. Mostly this one while I was at home, this one while I was at work. I read this in one day. It was very light, easy to read. I had problems with it, but whatever. It was just like a fun contemporary that I found mostly enjoyable. This was the first book in the D.S. Mannon Bradshaw like series that Susie Steiner writes. I didn't realize when I selected this book for my TBR for August that it was part of a series. So I had to read this one first. I thought that this was enjoyable. It was kind of like my first foray into crime fiction. So a lot of it felt kind of boring for me and kind of dragged out a little bit. Some of it was confusing because I'm not into criminal stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand criminology or however you want to say it. So some of this was a little too deep for me, but I enjoyed it no less. However, I will say that this one, Persons Unknown, is, in my opinion, much more interesting because there's an actual personal connection to the person who is dead, as opposed to in this one where they don't really know the girl who's missing. They just know that her dad is like high profile. So this one's good so far. I am not, as you can see, very far in, but as soon as I finish filming this video, I'm going to go and just like start reading this. Hey, so like really fun thing. I forgot to add a Kindle book that I read. So here I am, it's editing me, talking to you about some bullshit ass YA contemporary that I read that was real dumb. It was more geared towards what I would say new adult. It would have been better as a new adult novel, in my opinion, just because the way that the characters spoke, it didn't feel like how a high school student would speak. It was called The Wrong Bachelor, and the whole premise of the novel was there was wildfires that wiped out like half of the town. So the high school was hosting a charity event similar to The Bachelor, calling it True Love, and it just had an interesting plot. I just didn't like any of the characters, and even though it has one of my favorite tropes, you know, the enemies to lovers trope, it just wasn't as good as I thought it was gonna be. So yeah, back to the rest of the wrap up. And then the last book that I have is an ebook. It's part of a series that I started reading last year, but I couldn't find the third book in the series because I don't think it was out yet. It's by J.L. Wheel. It's called Forsaken. It's part of the Slumber series, which is supposed to be like a Sleeping Beauty retelling, but it's very like dystopian. Dystopian like romance is how I would describe it. I'm not very far into Forsaken, but I will finish it before tomorrow is over. So I read a total of 11 books in the month of August, which is pretty good considering I also had a lot of projects that were due for my graduate program. But I make it work because I read at work. Don't tell anybody. It's a secret. Not really, it's not a secret. My supervisor knows that I read on my Kindle while I sign things and that I listen to books on my audio player while I check everybody else's work. So it works out great. I just get extra reading done while I'm at work and on my commute to and from work. So it's fun, it works. All of the physical books, like I said, I'll have linked below for you to read my reviews on, except for this one, because it's not gonna come out until probably Monday, September 2nd. So that one won't be available, but eventually it will. And you can read all my thoughts live on my blog, which is linked below, as always. Random bullshit on Twitter, I sometimes post there. Fell off the Instagram wagon again because I forgot that I have an Instagram for a second, but you can follow me there. It's fun. I like to respond to comments there. Goodreads is also there. I write like little snippy reviews of, I write snippets of reviews on Goodreads for audiobooks so that you can kind of read more about my opinions on them there. Otherwise, I don't really have anything else. This is my wrap up for the month of August. It went by fast, but kind of slow because I forgot that I read King of Fools this month. Anyway, next month is gonna be fun. Also, this is not the last video where I'll have this long hair, but I'm getting my hair cut on Monday. So wore my hair down for this video so that you can see that I have kind of long hair and it's gonna be gone. So thanks, goodbye. Don't forget to subscribe.